Hey guys, let me tell you this. There is no truth in the rumors. I am a baddie man. Me and Bader Hari were just fooling around. It was a joke. It was a prank, bro. Anyway, subscribe and like to the best boxing channel based boxing.
Yeah, thanks, Ronaldo. Well, I don't really believe you. And by the way, it's based boxing basement, not just base boxing, all right? Yeah, I was... so there's a fight. There are a few fights at the weekend. They're not very interesting. There's an all-women Ben Shalom show, which is so whack. And Lauren Price v. the Jonas super fight. It was quite funny because they were having an argument. They had a face-to-face with this pathetic fight. Lauren Price and Jonas. And Jonas saying, I've already beaten in the amateurs. She's like, no, you beat. She's like, you didn't beat me. You beat Becca Price. Or Becky Price or something. And to be honest, they do it the same. Obviously, Jonas can't tell one rug muncher from another. But who cares about that fight? There's also Charlotte Dubon vs Doremi Fasolasi from South Korea. It's pathetic. It's at the Albert Hall, which is a great venue. But, I mean, who's going to pay to see that? The number of free tickets, man. Come on. But on what's called Channel 5, I think it's a Wasserman fight. Harlem Eubank will be fighting Tyrone McKenna. And Harlem's bizarrely a big favourite. We'll get to that in a minute. Now, Harlem Eubank is not a son of Chris Eubank. He is the nephew of Chris Eubank Sr. and the cousin of Chris Eubank Jr., obviously. His father was Simon Eubank. Simon Eubank with an S, right? And I think he was a twin brother of Peter Eubanks, right? And they're both kind of journeymen. Simon Eubanks didn't have a great record. 7 wins, 20 losses, 11 by KO losses, only 2 wins by stoppage. Funny enough, he started off as a bit of a prospect, won 4 of the first 5, but then he became a journeyman. He beat a couple of decent guys. Sugar Gibiliru, who was a journeyman, but he won the British title. He also beat Trevor Smith, who was quite decent. He lost to Glyn Rhodes, which is weird, the trainer. Andy Holligan, Paul Silky Jones, Kevin Lushin, Gary Logan, Derek Granger, Alex Dixon, all these guys. Antoine Fernandez, Tony Akubia, so Steve Boyle. It goes on and on and on, right? So, the father, Simon Eubanks, was just thrown in against all these top guys, okay? Unfortunately, Simon passed away. What's interesting, though, is that the actual family name is Eubanks, with an S, Eubanks. So Simon and Peter, I think they were twins. I'm not sure. Put it in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to remember right. And in fact, Peter Eubanks was also quite a decent fighter, okay? And he he managed to beat. In fact, I'm not sure they were twins, but they're definitely brothers. I thought they were twins. I may be wrong on that. But, Peter Eubanks had the better career, although he had only 14 wins and 21 losses, with only 4 wins by KO. Neither of them were punchers, right? But he beat by half a point. In those days, you used to have half a point. He beat Barry McGuigan in Barry's third fight on points in Brighton, his hometown. So that's a major victory. But he then got stopped by Eubank in the rematch. But it's not about the Eubanks. What's interesting though is Harlem Eubank calls himself Harlem Eubank, even though he should be Harlem Eubanks, right? Weirdly, Chris Eubank decided to change his name. Apparently, he didn't want to be associated with his own brothers who were called Eubanks. He was like, no, I'm my own man. I'm better than them. So he looked down on his own brothers, which is pretty disgraceful, if you ask me. And that's why he called himself Eubank. His name isn't Eubank, it's Eubanks, right? I don't have a problem with boxers changing their name. It's happened all the time. Walker Smith Jr., a.k.a. Sugar Ray Robinson. Luke Partridge, a.k.a. Tyson Fury. Arnold Raymond Cream, a.k.a. Jersey Joe Walcott. So it's not really a problem. I mean, well, Muhammad Ali, a.k.a. Cassius Clay, right? So I don't have a problem. Obviously, he chose, Harlem decided to change his name to Eubank so that it would garner him, more PR, and that's fine. But it's slightly disrespectful. But so we got Harlem Eubank fighting Tyrone McKenna. Now, Harlem, to my knowledge, never had amateur fights, or at least there are none recorded on BoxRec. I can't remember him having any amateur fights. He's unbeaten, but he's not a big puncher like his dad. 20 wins, 8 by KO, so that's only a 40% KO ratio. He's never fought anyone who's super good. He's fought a few guys with fair records. Timo Schwarzkopf, he stopped in 11. Nurali Erdogan, all these guys had decent records. He beat a couple. The first part of his career he was just beating bums. But then Mark McDonough had 8 wins, 1 loss. Daniel Egbunike was unbeaten in 6. None of these guys are like superstars, right? But he's learned his trade, and so he should, considering he never had an amateur background, as far as I know. Tyrone McKenna, on the other hand, had a very impressive amateur background. He'd been fighting at international level and Irish national level for years. A lot of them were as a youth and under 21. But, he was always fighting at the top level. He was a touted amateur, if you like. He never won anything massive, But in the juniors, he did pretty well. And like I said, just having that solid amateur background, will give him the grounding for a pro career. He's 35. He's 6'1", which is a decent height for a fight that's going to be at welterweight. Yeah, so he's a tall guy. In the pros, and it's the pros what count. I mean, there's plenty of touted amateurs that just never made it. They didn't have the sturdiness, let's say. They were mismanaged, this kind of thing, just pull up Paul Gonzalez from the 1984 Olympics. Was going to be a 6-time world champion. Ended up being a bum and a nonce. Alan Temple, I was super good, but he became a journeyman. I mean, sometimes the money's in the journeyman, This is the prize fighting game. You need money. But Tyrone McKenna, started off with a very long win record. He had a draw early on, but that was a clash of heads, so, that's irrelevant, right? So if we ignore that head clash defeat, he had 16 wins in a row. And then he bumped into Jack Catterall, and he lost on points. The cards were fairly close. I'd never seen it. McKenna was put down, and Catterall did lose a point for hitting him when he was down. In fact, McKenna was down twice. So, I mean, Catterall, it looks like, deserved the win. He then lost... who was he beat? He beat Dara Foley, who's half decent. Lewis Benson, right? A guy called Mohamed Mimoun, who later went on to stop him, which is weird in a rematch. Jose Felix, a decent fighter, right? He won on points. And then he fought Reggie Prograis and got stopped in 6. No disgrace there. Prograis is a very good fighter. Lewis Crocker outpointed him clearly. That's slightly worrying after seeing the beatdown that Paddy Donovan put on him. And then I said, he got stopped by Mohamed Mimoun in a rematch. I mean, Mimoun was okay, but that's not great. He won his last fight though against Dylan Moran, who was 19-2, and he stopped him in 2 rounds. He's on a puncher though, Tyrone. Excuse me. So his record is 24 wins, 7 KOs, 5 losses, 2 by stoppage, and that silly draw, which is irrelevant. The Mighty Celt, he's called. He is 35, but he's 6'1". He's extremely experienced. Now the bookies have him a 4.5 underdog. Now, if you're whacking up to use fractional odds, that's 7-2. That's quite a big underdog for a fight against a very experienced guy who's fought at world level. Okay? He may not have beaten any world level fighters, right? But, Prograis. Well, he beat Jose Felix, actually. You'd say Jose Felix, you could argue, is a world-class fighter from Mexico. He lost a majority decision to O'Hara Davis, very close. I mean, is O'Hara world-class? I would question that. And a bunch of other decent guys that he's fought, Crocker, Darrow Fordy. So, this guy has operated at higher level than Harlem Eubank. Or should I say Harlem Eubanks. Harlem Eubanks. And obviously he's only got as far as he's only got the publicity because of his name, Eubank. And then, I've got no problem with people taking advantage of, of their name, of the advantages they've got. Why not? Why not? If it's prize fighting is dangerous, and if it gets you more money, then I got no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is promotional companies pushing guys that aren't that great just because of their name. The most well-known recent one, of course, is Camp Bellingham, who's completely whack. He can't punch. He's rubbish. He's impossible to miss. He lost against that. Who was that guy, man? That Spanish guy. He clearly lost to him. The guy's called Sonny Martinez. Who had a 2-win and 4-loss record and completely outpointed him. I would give Hatton a round. And Marcus McDonald scored it for Camp Bellingham. It was a disgraceful decision. Obviously, he's been shown up. He lost 2 decisions to James Flint. But remember, what happened in his second fight? I think it was his second fight, right? The walk-in fight for Camp Bellingham was Dimitri Bivol, one of the world's best. I mean, that's just incredible. Imagine being a warm-up fight for Camp Bellingham is Dimitri Bivol. And you remember Adam Smith was still there at Sky going, "Oh, the hairs on the back of your neck are standing up as Blue Moon bellows through the arena. It reminds me of his dad, Ricky, doesn't it, Matthew?" What a bum. It was pathetic. Anyway, it's not about Camp Belland. It's about Harlem and Tyrone McKenna. Now, I mean, I haven't watched a lot. I've watched them both box, but I can't say they made a major impression on me. Harlem's okay. He's not a puncher. He's okay. He hasn't fought in world class, though. Like I said, at least Tyrone has fought in world class. The problem might be his age at 35. Eubank's 31, but he's a fresh 31 because he's only had 20 fights. He didn't have an amateur career. Like I said, as far as I know, certainly that's not listed on BoxRec. So, and it's in Brighton. Now we've all seen so many dodgy decisions recently. It's been so cringe. Hamza Shiraz losing every round except possibly one and getting a draw. You got Javante Davis getting floored and beaten up by Lamont Roach and then getting a draw. There's so many dodgy decisions in boxing. And this is in Eubank's backyard. Like I said, it's on Channel 5. I think it's a Wasserman production. Wasserman is kind of moved on to Misfits quite a lot. No, excuse me. It's the promoter's Nisei Sauerland. Oh, sorry, it is Wasserman. Excuse me. Sorry for being mixed up, right? Wasserman is the name of the promotional company. The guy's called Nisei Sauerland. Isn't he the guy who loves Yale? Or is that his brother? His brother loves a Yale. Calais Sauerland, that's it. He's a sniffer. But they're both involved in that company. So the sniffer, he's going to be down in Brighton sniffing it up. And it's on Channel 5. And I'd much rather watch this bill than, that rubbish women's bill. And like I said, they will probably put it on when I say free Sky channel, a non-Sky Sports channel. Yeah. And go, "Oh, look at the ratings, women," and that bum, Ben Schlumberger. It just shows you that women's boxing is really interesting and everybody wants to watch it because it's had the best figures. Yeah, because you put it on free Sky, if you like. On the undercard, there's a few prospects. Tommy Welch, unbeaten. I don't think he's that great. Harvey Dykes, unbeaten heavyweight. Tom Welland is meant to be a prospect, unbeaten. I don't know whether it's Dan Tord. unbeaten. There's a bunch of unbeaten prospects. Matty Harris is coming back after a loss. So there's some heavyweights there. Lucas Rohig, if I pronounced it correctly. So there's some prospects. I would much rather watch this bill than that bum women's bill. But it's not going to set me on fire. I'm going to party this weekend anyway. Forget about it. So the question is who wins. It's to me, it's an even fight. I don't know why the bookies have gone for Eubank so clearly. To me, it's a pretty even fight. Yes, you got to factor in the fact it's in Brighton. You got to factor in the fact that Tyrone McKenna is 35, but you've also got to factor in that he's an experienced, classy boxer who has operated at world level. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to have a little bet on McKenna. I just think those odds can't be ignored. And I hope he wins in Eubank's backyard. Because Eubank is he's not a Nepo baby. He's a Nepo nephew, right? But it's still nepotism because of his name. That bum would not be... Well, he's not a bum. That ordinary guy would not be top of the bill if his name wasn't Eubank, and his name should be Eubanks anyway. So I'm hoping that Tyrone McKenna will outbox him. It's worth a fiver of my money. That's for sure. Let's see what happens. Peace, guys.